Okay, and we'll talk about their duties first. I know you guys love that. Executive branch, so he is the one that is supposed to make sure that he executes the laws or make sure that they're followed. So he puts the laws into practice to make sure that that the law the legislative branch wrote is put into law. So he's the final guy that signs that. Okay, so his big job is to execute the laws. Okay, legislative branch, their duty is to make the laws. Oh, and by the way, the president also has another duty. He is supposed to propose a budget each year.
Say what?
Okay, as are the legislative branch. They're in charge of the budget. Though they seem to have a real hard time of passing one and agreeing on how to spend our money as we go further and further into debt. Okay, judicial branch. They interpret the laws. So they would look at a law that the legislative branch passed and they would make sure that it is constitutional, meaning that it follows the Constitution and it doesn't go against or infringe upon anyone's rights given to by the Constitution. Okay, so now let's get into this. So the executive branch is able to, okay, so these arrows are going to be checks and balances, okay? They check the legislative branch by veto. So when the legislative branch passes a law, it has to be approved and signed into law by the president. If he doesn't like it, he'll veto it, send it back, and have to keep working on it. Okay? Also, the president is the one that appoints the judges. So that's how he checks the judicial branch. Okay. So that's checks and balances for the executive branch. Let's talk about the legislative branch, okay? The legislative branch, if the president is not doing what he's supposed to the point of breaking the law, the legislative branch has the power to impeach the president, which is basically like putting him on trial so that he can be fired, okay? And they can also, if they get a majority vote, they can override a veto. Okay, and going over here to the judicial branch, the legislative branch gets to, the president, he appoints the judges, but the legislative branch gets to approve the judges. And they also approve his cabinet. He appoints them, but they get to approve them. Okay. Alright, that's not bad. Now let's talk about the judicial branch. Okay. The judicial branch, they get to tell whether laws are constitutional. If they're not, and the legislative branch passes a law that's not constitutional, the judicial branch will review it, okay, and if it's not constitutional, they'll throw it out. So, okay, and the judicial branch also makes sure that everything the president does are constitutional. So if he does an executive action or he appoints someone, maybe when the Congress is not in session to vote on it, that they look at everything that the executive branch does and they tell whether or not it was constitutional. Okay, so you see we have these arrows here. These are important because this is what the Founding Fathers put in place to make sure that one branch didn't get more power than the other one and become, that oppressive government we discussed with England. Okay, so now there are different stipulations, different requirements to run for office. Like the president has to be at least 35 years old. He has to be a natural-born citizen, which means born in the United States or United States territory or on a United States military base somewhere in the world. Okay, in Congress, you can be younger. Senator, I believe, is 30. House of Representatives, 25. Judges, it doesn't matter. You're just appointed by the president. Then the legislative branch, they would conduct the interview, which ends up being more of an interrogation, and they do a background check to see if you'd be a good candidate for it. So we won't go into those too much, and as you know, president, we didn't put that up there. We did put the rest, but the president serves for 4 years. Okay, and he can serve up to 2 terms. Okay. Now the legislative branch, the congressmen, the senators, House of Representatives, they can serve as many terms as they want. Okay, there's no stipulation or limit on the amount of terms, just the amount of years. Okay, so that's pretty much it. There will be a question at the end, so make sure you take time to answer that question. And remember, let me write this down before we go, because I talked about it, but I didn't write it down. Okay, the arrows are our system of checks and balances. Okay, that's what the arrows are. Okay, so those are the important ones. And if it'll help, I'll highlight them too. Okay, so notes look a little different. You're not just copying down a bunch of stuff, but you gotta copy down this whole diagram here, whole organizer. Okay, so make sure you get that copied. It's been on the screen the whole time, so you should have had ample time to get that down. So, like I said, make sure you answer this question at the end. And come to class ready to discuss, and we're going to get into our elections. Since you kind of know how our government works, we're going to base our school government, our class government, the same way. So we'll be building our platforms, which is what you'll run on, the issues we'll talk about, and we'll get into the campaigning. So it should be really exciting. Hope you guys have fun. Okay, and just for Malachi, I will end with your favorite song there, bud. If it'll play. There we go. Thanks for listening, guys.